So in November, when I was there, they said everything was perfect. I had no issues.
November of 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when I went back in March, now I have cancer again. And they said that I was upset because I was like, I was just in here and everything was good. What's going on? And he said, well, I don't quite understand how it happened, but it seems like it's returning. And I says, well, why would this be happening? And he said, well, it's very odd that you're having so many of these issues so close together, but all separate. They're separate areas, separate things. And I said, do you think that it is caused by any of the chemicals that I'm exposed to by being in town? That was it.
Silence.
Silence. I don't know nothing about that. I can't really go there with you on that.
If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you could, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm to spread the video worldwide. Now that the media and politicians are gone, it helps the video shine a light on our little town of East Palestine, Ohio. And check out our Facebook group, East Palestine Off the Rails. Get the truth from the people that live here. And lastly, if you'd be so kind, donate at our Give, Send, Go or our GoFundMe site, East Palestine Off the Rails. We have gotten absolutely not one penny from the federal government, and we're trying to assist people that want to leave. Thank you so much for caring, and thank you for watching.
In a moment, you're going to be seeing a video of an interview with East Palestine resident Connie Rager. Her daughter informed her the morning of the interview that I wanted to do an interview with Connie. And Connie selflessly agreed to the interview. She had a busy day. She worked that morning. She went to the beautician for a haircut, and she said, I think I can get her over to your place after the haircut. And I told her daughter what I was going to do and not to mention anything, and she did not. So Connie has no idea. Connie in this video shows that she cares more about others than she cares herself, even though she's going through a terrible time during this terrible disaster that East Palestine has gone through. Her husband was trying to call her because her husband works the night shift, so you're going to hear the phone ring a couple times. And as we were about to present the check to Connie, her husband called her daughter's phone. And so her daughter picked it up, and her husband was able to hear the presentation. So enjoy this interview, and everyone in East Palestine, stay safe. So we are here today with Connie Rager. I've known her for many years, and some of you might be familiar with the town hall that we did, and she spoke at that town hall. So we're going to talk about a little bit about her experience with the derailment, the chemical bomb, and we're going to find out a little bit about her. So, afternoon.
Hi.
I'm glad you can make it on such short notice too.
Yeah, thank you.
So, where do you live in relation to the derailment?
I'm 1.1 miles from the actual derailment site.
So that makes it a little tough, right?
Yes.
You talked about that the other night. You want to talk about that a little bit and why that would make it tough?
Well, it's just that Norfolk Southern is focusing on that 1 mile radius. Anything outside that 1 mile radius, they're iffy about wanting to help you or do anything for you, especially in the beginning. Because like I went down and talked to them. I wanted to see about getting my home tested and possibly like the air ducts cleaned out and stuff, because I just felt like I couldn't breathe all the time in my house. And I think that there was an issue there and stuff, but they told me that there was nothing they could do because I was outside that 1 mile radius, which I can see the 1 mile radius from my house. It's like right there, street in front of me. But it's been very difficult to try to get any assistance and stuff. Now, I have been told recently that if I wanted to, I could go over and try to get that money that they were offering for inconveniencing you and stuff. But my husband and I have not done that. Unfortunately, I'm one of the older ones, and I am funny about being too pushy. You know, I want help, but I tend to back off if you are pressuring me and saying no, and that's becoming a problem. You know, I had health issues that are expanding at this point, you know, so I would like to be able to get some kind of assistance from them, even though I'm outside that mile radius.
Yeah, a couple things about this. There is no, like, a spaceship we see, like Star Trek. They put up their force field around their big ship, and the other enemies can't fire through that force field. And it's almost like they're saying, right at the 1 mile mark, those chemicals just bounced right off of the force field.
And it quit moving.
Yes, and it quit coming in further. So they did. So to this point, you've had no testing of your home or no duct cleaning?
No.
Okay. Did you have those breathing problems prior to?
No.
Okay.
No.
And what can you expand a little bit about breathing? What was going on there?
Well, I work outside of town. When I leave town to go to work, I have issues probably for the first hour. And then I start clearing up where I'm not coughing. I've been coughing a lot. I got sore throat, the runny nose. My eyes are always watering and itchy. And it's just like sometimes, especially when the smell gets strong, I almost feel like I have bronchitis. You know, it's just that heaviness. It's hard to breathe. I haven't had to go to the hospital or anything for it. It's just I can tell that it's difficult for me to breathe when it gets like that. And as you can tell, my throat, you know, I start getting hoarse and stuff like that. And usually it only takes about 20 minutes to a half hour after I get home before I'm this way again, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat this again. I've talked about it on a couple other videos about the CDC workers. I believe there were maybe 11 CDC workers.
Sorry.
That's okay. 11 CDC workers came into town and were doing surveys door to door, and 7 of them had gotten sick. Do you know about this, right?
I heard about it.
Yeah, so yes. 7 of them had gotten sick. The CDC never told us, and you would think that that is something that would raise alarm bells with the CDC. These workers were reporting nausea, headaches, scratchy eyes, sore throats, sinus problems, but the CDC didn't release that. It was only discovered when possibly a reporter or somebody spoke up, and then the CDC had to admit that happened. And so to cover their tracks, the CDC said that they didn't report it because, well, their symptoms went away when they left town. When they would go home, go to their hotel 30 miles away, their symptoms would leave. And then they'd come back in town and those symptoms would come back. So they were transient symptoms. And that disgusted me and infuriated me, because that is even more proof when you come into town, you get ill, and when you leave, you feel better. I'm not sure who's working at the CDC, but either they're hiding something on purpose or they lack intelligence to put that link together.
Right, because I didn't go to college and I can figure that
Yeah.
out, you know?
Yeah, well, you're probably better off that you didn't go to college. It messes up your mind. So, did you experience any other symptoms?
Well, it's not a real great thing to talk about, but I've had diarrhea for a couple months. You know, I wouldn't know what solid is anymore.
Connie,
You
I
know,
admitted that too.
I'm
So
so
we're in the same
sorry.
boat.
It sounds terrible, but that's just part of it, you know. And I've also noticed, and I've just recently myself started noticing it. And then when I said something about it to people, the people have assured me that they noticed it before I did, that I seem to be like getting upset and angry, like my emotions are like up and down. I feel like sometimes I just can't control how I'm feeling about stuff. And, you know, I might raise my voice or I get upset easily and stuff. And I think a lot of that is just the stress and everything on me. And um, within probably the last 2.5 weeks, I've been having some issues. It's not all the time, but it's getting more frequent where I keep having, where it feels like in my arms and my hands, like almost like a tingly kind of feeling, not like they're asleep, but it scared me at first because I thought, oh gosh, is it something with my heart? But it's not, you know, and it's affecting my legs and my arms and stuff. So I think a lot of that is because I have been exposed to the vinyl chloride. And my test results came back that it was a pretty high dose, is from my understanding. So I think that's causing a lot of this. And I mean, and of course, because of all this, I feel anxious and depressed, and I don't know what I'm going to do from day to day. You know, is it going to be okay tomorrow to be here? Next week? Or am I going to have to leave again? You know? And I really don't have a place to go, like to move. You know, I mean, if I had to, I have family that I could go stay with temporarily, but that's just a short-term fix because as soon as I come back, the symptoms come back, you know, and from my understanding, there's nothing I can do to make that go away. So,
well, the real fix is when you're exposed to chemicals like that. As I explained before, there is no magic wand to grab them out of you. The body can detox with most things over time, and those chemicals can be eliminated out of your body, but only if you remove yourself from the actual area that you're being contaminated with those chemicals. And I think that as more people test positive for benzene and vinyl chloride, this is just my suspicion because a lot of my patients that have so far, it seems as though they have a very close proximity to the creek as well, which is still highly contaminated.
The creek runs right behind my house.
Yes. So especially as the days get hotter and the chemicals off gas, there's a tremendous amount of chemicals, deadly chemicals, still in the soil, in the banks, in the creek beds. I have filmed almost probably a week after the derailment, once or twice a week in those creeks. And they put hey, stay out, we're cleaning. So, 3 months out, I've been in those creeks once or twice a week. And I have Only one time early on, shortly after the derailment, that I saw 2 EPA or Norfolk Southern workers in those creeks. I've spent hours and hours in those creeks, and south of the park, there has been no cleaning that I am aware of in those creeks. They are still highly, highly contaminated, and we are over 3 months out, and those chemicals are still in that soil, and I would imagine off-gassing. And I don't know if that's why you tested so high, but I do have a sneaky suspicion that a lot of these people that are testing positive, you're going to see a whole, like a pattern of them being around those creeks.
Right. And that is if they can get tested.
Yes.
Because I know for myself, almost all of my neighbors are elderly people. You know, I mean, there's a couple of younger families there, but it's mostly older people, and they don't have Facebook and YouTube and all those things. And believe me, Norfolk Southern is not knocking on their door offering to check them and see if they need anything. So most of these people, the only thing they're seeing is what they might see on a newscast. And in the beginning, that was okay. But as you have seen, you don't see those people anymore. You know, I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll see a newscaster or something downtown if something's going on. But if not, we're just left on our own. And I know I worry about my neighbors. I wonder how many of them are exposed to and having issues, but they don't know what to do about it. And, you know, they're not going to go searching for these EPA people to come and help them. You know, some of them are homebound. You know, who's helping them? No one is. You know, they're left to fend for themselves. And from my experience so far, the only people that are getting anywhere are the ones who are voicing everything and pushing and pushing and pushing. And they're getting somewhere at least. But it doesn't transfer to the rest of us, you know. And that's sad.
It's a shame because after what was done here, let's say an accident happened. Let's say it was not even Norfolk Southern's fault. Let's say the axle just broke. The manufacturer was bad or something, and they didn't get a signal or who knows what. Let's say the accident happened. I have always been infuriated as to what they did after the accident. They just laid those the tracks right over the contaminated soil. So
they knew what they were doing.
Yes.
It was a quick, let's hide what we've done.
Yes.
Before anybody important gets here.
Yeah.
And I bet you they never thought that they would make them dig up them tracks and do that.
And there's a lot of voices here. But getting back to your point, I think that so when somebody does something so egregious after such a bad chemical spill was done, and you just slap the faces of the residents and you drive those trains right through a few minutes after, you would think they would be on their absolute best behavior, bending over backward, knocking on people's doors. What do you need? What can we do for you? Can we institute some testing for your, let's test and see if you've been exposed to chemicals. I'm afraid these elderly patients or people that you're talking about, a lot of, you may have this experience because, being a doctor, a lot of the older generation is very trusting of their doctor. And when the doctor says, don't worry, it's okay. And then they say, oh, I'm okay. And they don't go out for tests. Talk about when you said you weren't able to be seen or something happened.
Well, I went to the doctors the first time in February, and they did the whole gauntlet. I got the COVID testing, strep test.
This was before or after the derailment?
It was after the derailment. It was on the 10th.
Why did they do all that? Were you having symptoms?
Yes. I was sick. I was coughing and nose running the whole bit, but I was worried that I was sick. So I went then, and everything come back normal. He said, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I asked about the train derailment, if I might have been exposed. He said, well, you could have been, but he says, at this point, I don't have any information to go on. So then in March, I went to um, my brain is my cancer doctor.
Since you went there, let's go ahead and start from the beginning about what your experience, what you've been through.
Well, it was a year ago, March 29th, that I had surgery. I found out I had cervical cancer. And I went in, they did the surgery, they checked me, they said they got it all, that I was good, I didn't have to worry. I went back for my subsequent visits. Everything was going well.
How often were those?
At first, I went 2 weeks, and then they went to 2 months, and then it went to 4 months.
Okay.
So in November, when I was there, they said everything was perfect. I had no issues.
November of 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when I went back in March, now I have cancer again. And they said that I was upset because I was like, I was just in here and everything was good. What's going on? And he said, well, I don't quite understand how it happened, but it seems like it's returning. And so they scheduled me for surgery and stuff, and I was still having all the symptoms and stuff. So I called my regular doctor, my family doctor.
And excuse me, symptoms of what?
The runny nose, the coughing, and sneezing, the whole bit going, diarrhea. And I was worried, since I was going to have to go in for the surgery, that they wouldn't put me to sleep if I was having breathing issues. So my family doctor took me back in and checked me. They did blood work and urinalysis and the whole bit, and everything came back fine. There was no issues. The only thing the doctor said was he suspected that I had the butyl, I can't say the words, the butyl acrylate.
You mean a chemical?
Yes.
That was on the train?
Yes.
Butyl acrylate?
Butyl acrylate.
Yes.
That's how you say it. I'm sorry.
No, you're not supposed to know the names of those chemicals.
I'm not real good with them names. But he suspected that was what was wrong. And he told me that. He gave me a paper. He circled it on the paper and said, this is what I think's going on with you, but you're good to go ahead and be put under anesthesia and have your surgery. So I went in, I had the surgery and stuff, and they said they got everything. They checked me again afterwards and said that everything was good. I was all good. But I was still having the issues. So I had called my family doctor again, and they said they can't help me. They said there's no point in you coming in because it's the same symptoms, and we've already told you that there's no testing that can be done to find out if you have chemical exposure.
Wow.
That only applied the first couple days, and then it all dissipates. So there's no point in you coming in here. And Mercy Health is the umbrella hospital. They will not see you. If you go up there and you say you're from East Palestine, they do not want to talk to you.
That's criminal.
And
to me, that's criminal.
I also went to Salem Hospital, and they told me the same thing. if you go in for something unrelated, they'll help you. But the moment you bring up chemical exposure, the train derailment, any of that, they're done. They cannot help you. I don't know, come from the big wigs or what, but it filtered down and they just can't deal with that. So I didn't know what else to do. So I was like, I've tried, talking to him. I had another recheck at my oncologist. And when I went up there, I pointed out a couple spots on me that I was very concerned about. And he said, well, it's probably skin cancer. But he said, you have to go to a dermatologist for that. He said, I don't deal with stuff like that. And I said, well, why would this be happening? And he said, well, it's very odd that you're having so many of these issues so close together, but all separate. They're separate areas, separate things. And I said, do you think that it is caused by any of the chemicals that I'm exposed to by being in town? That was it.
Silence.
Silence. I don't know nothing about that. I can't really go there with you on that and stuff. So left in the dark, I have to try to schedule an appointment now with a dermatologist to go in and be checked to see if it is skin cancer. And if it is, it's just one more thing on the plate, and it's just wearing me down and wearing me down because I don't know what to do about it. And I just thank God that you finally were able to get people tested. You told me where to go. You gave me the prescription to get it done. And now at least I know that I have been exposed to the vinyl chloride and I am at a 1.3. And that there's nothing I can do to change that. I just got to go on from here. But where do I go from here? I don't have any direction, so I feel like I'm still lost in limbo where I was a few months ago, and I honestly thought by now that there would be some kind of a system where you could truly get tested and have some kind of follow-up where you knew what you could do. If there's nothing I can do, okay, there's nothing I can do, but can somebody talk to me and help me through this? Let me know what to expect next week, because I really don't know what to expect. And I don't know if I wait a few weeks and I get retested, is my levels going to be higher because I'm still in town? Or are they going to stay the same? I don't know, So it scares me because the unknown, I don't know what to expect. I don't know where to turn. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, there's thousands of people out there that are having the same kind of things that they don't know what to do either. And I just wish that the government and the CDC and the EPA and all them would just get together and take care of this and figure out where we need to be. Not just yes men or people that are, saying they're there to help, but they don't really help you. They just talk around what's going on, you know? And if you say, well, the air, I'm still having issues, it's all clean. There's nothing here. Everything is good. Well, okay, everything is reading okay on your meter that you're holding right there, maybe, but all around my house, it's not. You know, I'm sure if they would just test my house or test my soil and see, is there something there? Because I know neighbors just half a block away from me, her yard tested that she had issues, and but she's at that 1 mile mark, and I'm outside of it, so I can't get the help, you know. So I just, like I said, I just don't know where to go from here. And I know you have tried to reassure me, and I thank you so much for that. But in my head, I just think that I have a death sentence now because the chemicals are inside of me. I can't get rid of them. It's not like I can just go take a pill and in a week I'm going to feel better. And I just, I mean, maybe I won't die from it, but I feel like that's where I'm at, you know, and that's a big thing for your brain to absorb and deal with. And I'm having a rough time. And I try to hide that from my work and from my family because I don't want to look like I'm always going, oh, poor me. Because other people are having issues too. And I don't want people to be like, oh, poor Connie. I just want the same help and the same respect that I should get from these people, and they should be helping us. And please, I know some people are going to take this the wrong way. I love East Palestine. I've lived in East Palestine since 1985. My family is here. We love this community, but no offense, giving us money for the park to fix up the grounds or to fix up the pole or put some benches out at City Lake. I mean, those are nice things, don't get me wrong. But all the money that they're using for that, why aren't they testing us? Why aren't they giving us some assistance? If they can't do all the testing, at least be like, send us where we can get tested. You know, I mean, I don't begrudge the community of having our park fixed up and stuff because it is nice to have those things. But you got to look at the bigger picture. Nice park or a life. You know, it's no good to have that beautiful park if I'm sick all the time and I'm afraid to go over there because then I'm outside and I'm trapped between the creek, the sewer plant, and the water plant where all this stuff is all mixing in and it's right behind my house. You know, I can see all this from my front porch, you know, and I'm afraid. I love the 4th of July. I was born on the 4th of July. Nothing makes me happier than going to the park and watching the fireworks and interacting with the community. But do you think that Connie will be there this year? Not a chance. Because I'm not going to go sit out in the middle of the field and having all that stuff possibly drug up around us and making me worse, you know? And like I said, I know that's probably going to make some people angry because some people are really all about having these things done. And like I said, that's good. But you got to look at what's the most important. And I feel like people's health and well being are most important. And I could be wrong. Maybe I've missed it. But I think that we need somebody to be here to talk to people about their mental stability and how they're feeling about this, because I know in my family it's a big thing, you know, and people don't have no way to talk to. And if you go on Facebook and you write it, the wrong thing, you got everybody down your back. So I look at stories on there and stuff, but very seldom do I ever respond, whether I have a response or not, because I'm afraid. And I'm also afraid sometimes of saying something that they're going to turn around and try to use against me to as another reason not to give me any help, you know? I mean, I'm not asking for the world. I just want some help figuring out what I need to do. And if I need to get out of here to keep my life at something called a livable life, then I need them to help me do that, because I can't do it on my own. I wish I could, but I'm not rich and I can't afford it, you know? And who's going to want to buy my house? Where I live is not a good spot, you know? On my street alone, there's 6 houses for sale, you know? Everybody wants out, but who's going to buy our homes? And if they do, are they going to pay what they were worth before this train derailment? You know, those are all things that just weigh on me constantly, you know. And I know I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry.
That's who's supposed to talk. I'm not supposed to talk. I'm supposed to listen.
But like I said, I'm looking for direction and some kind of assistance and what I need to do and to be okay again. You know, everything went to pot with COVID, and we just got over that, and everything seemed like it was starting to get back to normal, and then boom, we got slammed with this, you know. I just I feel like my grandkids are going to know what a normal life as a child is.
That's all they've lived.
Because they have never been able to just enjoy life like, I mean, when I was growing up, you got up, you ate your breakfast, you did your feed your dogs, you go out, ride your bike, have a great time all day.
Parents said, we'll see him when it gets dark.
Yeah. And the kids just can't do that, you know. You can't let them go out and play in this, you know, and take the chance that they're going to end up with cancer down the road because they've been exposed. And
there's people.
Sorry, do you have
Tim,
a tissue?
Kleenex? There are people in our community. Boy, there's so much to unpack here. Let me talk about this first. When you just said that about the kids not playing, there are people that have yelled at me on Facebook, well, stay out of those creeks. You shouldn't be in those creeks. Well, don't you want to know if there's chemicals? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Don't worry about it. I said, if a company came in here and put fences around the creeks, and this chemical spill never happened, every member of this community would be outraged saying, we can't play in the creeks. Our kids can't play in the creeks. but they're filled with chemicals, and we have a portion of our town that's angry with me showing that. And you're talking about you have to worry about your kids going out and maybe investigating, poking sticks into the creek now. But
Thank you.
so that's a crime in itself. The kids can't even go play out here.
Yeah.
And if they do, you have to worry about them. But let me back up a little bit. You talked about your doctor saying, well, that opportunity was gone to test you for vinyl chloride. There were two tests for vinyl chloride. One is the blood and one is the urine. And the blood test, when you're exposed to vinyl chloride, it dissipates. It gets out of your blood very quickly. And so when I started testing for people for vinyl chloride in the beginning, and I was testing their blood, people were coming up negative. I said, hey, this is great. Maybe maybe everything is okay. So I called Quest Diagnostics, the laboratory, and I said, hey, can you have one of your doctors call me back? And they don't, each laboratory is just each is like a cell. There's the big lab, and then there's little labs that they send those tests off to. So they take your blood there. And there's not the head doctors there, the laboratory doctors. So somewhere in the Midwest, they had a head doctor call me back. And I just wanted to make sure I was doing all the procedures.
Sorry.
And so anyway, we got into a conversation. And I said, well, I just wanted to make sure I had all the numbers right and all the codes to send in, continue sending in, and I'm doing the right test. And I said, there's probably a crapshoot anyway, because, we've been told by the CDC that you've got 24 hours or so to, just to hit that window to see if you've been exposed. And he said to me, he paused and he said, well, that's true for the blood. That's not true for the urine. He said the urine test, as you're exposed to vinyl chloride on a daily basis, that's going to start showing up in your urine. And that was a whole new ball game. And not only was that a revelation, and that's why I think more people are testing positive as I'm sending out for the vinyl chloride urine tests. It also made me extremely angry, because this is a doctor in a laboratory. I would think you had some just as knowledgeable people at the CDC. And they're here. They never told us about that. They told us that, no, you don't get the test. It's not going to show up. I believe people at the CDC know that the urine test, it would have a potential to test positive if you're exposed to vinyl chloride on a regular basis.
I would hope so, since they're in charge of the country's health care.
You would hope so. But why didn't they ever tell us? And, this doctor went on, well, I said, hey, we do not have a rich community. A lot of these people don't have insurance. How much, it's probably not your wheelhouse, but how much would these tests cost? And he said, I don't know. He said, that's not my area. But he said, and by the way, what do you mean? How much do these cost? He said, you're telling me the government isn't testing you guys? And he was appalled and shocked that every community member here wasn't being tested, not only once, but on an ongoing basis to see if we're exposed to these chemicals as we're living here. He could not believe that. And so that is somebody that's far removed from what's going on here, and people don't know how bad it is here. So.
Right. Yeah, because all they know is what they see on the news. And the news people, unfortunately, can only report on what they're being told. And I just don't understand all the secrecy. If it's there, okay, it's there. Let's just say it's there, and let's deal with the issue. All this secrecy just makes people afraid to believe anything they hear.
Connie, it's money. There can only be one reason. Why wouldn't one entity...
They're billionaires. Come on. How much would it take to test all the people in this town?
Well, then they're responsible for buying people's homes. And then that sets a precedent for, there was just a train derailment last night. There's 3 a day. That means they set a precedent for each accident that they have. If they did it here, they're going to have to do it in the next town tomorrow. And they're going to have to do it 3 days from now as they keep derailing those trains.
So if that's the case, then why aren't they fixing the problem? They know what the problem is. They're trying to run too many cars on one train. They're running them too fast. They don't have enough people to monitor and be on the train. I mean, these are all things that they could do something about. They just don't want to, because instead of that train going through East Palestine at 50 mile an hour, if we have to slow it down to 25 or 30, look at the time we're losing. I mean, our town is so huge, you know, and I understand, okay, you'd slow down everywhere. Well, that's part of the thing, you know. We had it years ago with all the gate crossings. People were getting hit by trains because they didn't have the proper gates and warning signals and stuff like that. And it took years for them to get these things where they need to be. So how many years do we have to wait before they're going to fix this problem? Like you said, 3 trains a day. And luckily, no one got killed down there in Newcastle, where the train derailed earlier, you know, last night and stuff. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a problem. There doesn't, in my opinion, there shouldn't have to be catastrophic human lives taken before something's done. You know, they already wrecked in our town, and then they decide to blow it all up, you know, because if they don't, then there's possibility the whole town's going to get wiped off the map. Okay, well, if they're that dangerous and you know that, why are you hauling so much of it on one train? You know, why can't you spread that around so that when because accidents will happen, but they should be happening this much, and the people need to be protected when they do happen. You know, you can't just ignore the problem and think it's going to go away. And you can't wait, unfortunately, on the government to pass laws saying you got to do this. These people ought to be willing to do this on their own. I mean, they're billionaires. They have all this money and clout and stuff going for them. They could take care of this if they wanted to. But I don't think they want to, because instead of making 4 billion, we'll only make 3, you know? And I agree with that it's all money, you know? But how far does it have to go before things are going to change? And before they're going to admit there's an issue and start helping us, you know? I mean, this happened February 3rd. And this is May 11th. Mm-hmm. And they still aren't taking care of our people. You know? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it.
So it's May 3rd. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but so you mentioned the big chemical bomb, the burn. Only a portion. This is hard to believe, as bad as that looked, and as bad as it truly was, and it's horrifying in the area that it covered. That not all those chemicals burned off from that pit. The EPA doesn't know. So it was not a complete burn, and a lot of those chemicals sunk into the ground at the burn pit. That burn pit's never been touched 3 months out. In fact, they covered it up. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I was told that they poured a cement slab over top of it, and it's still gases leaking out around that.
We're going to find out tonight at the EPA meeting. But whether it's just soil, whether it's gravel, whether it's asphalt, whether they capped it off with concrete, They're also concerned that because the land slopes down into a depression, they're concerned about all the vinyl chloride and the other chemicals that slope down into the depression in the land and are sitting there. And as that chemicals just sit there in the soil and hit the clay layer, they're moving laterally, potentially under the buildings in this town and the industrial buildings up there. So here we are in May, over 3 months later, and that burn pit's never been touched. Tell me about and if it's so clean and the chemicals aren't as dangerous as they should be. Tell me about your experience when you were coming home from work one day, when you talk about the truck that spilled.
Yeah, they had a tanker truck that was carrying the hazardous waste away from the site.
Was that the soil? Was that the soil?
It was soil.
Yeah,
yes. Contaminated soil. And
so it was a big dump truck, not a tanker truck.
Yeah,
dump truck.
Yeah, and it went up through Unity.
I don't expect you to know vehicles.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And so there's a little bit of a windy road there, and it goes up over the hill. Well, when the truck went up over the hill, they were either going too fast or they lost control, whatever, and the truck wrecked. And it tipped over and spilled hundreds of thousands of gallons of stuff all over this guy's yard and the road.
If I remember correctly, I believe it was, I think it was 40-ton truck filled with 40 tons of soil. It's been a while ago, but it made national news. Tipped over, lost half of its payload. I believe 20 tons went on this man's yard or wherever it was.
Right. And they went in and cleaned that up and said it was all good and everything. And then I was coming home from work one day, and this was, a good 2-3 weeks later after they had cleaned it all up. And I'm coming home from work, and I'm like, what is going on there? So I'm slowing way down, and there's 3 of them dressed in the full protective gear, the white suits that go all the way around, and they had the respirators on their face and stuff, and they were out there digging fence post holes to replace the fence that they had taken down in the wreck. Now, if that is clean and those people living there are being told there's nothing to worry about, then why do they have to wear the hazmat suits? Why do they have respirators on? That doesn't make sense to me. So I went up and turned around up the road. I turned around and I came back because I was going to take a picture. Well, that didn't happen because I was watching all around me to make sure that I was going to be able to slow down and take that picture safely. Nobody was going to pop over that hill at me. Nothing. No one anywhere in sight until I stopped my car and put my phone up. As soon as I put my phone up, I heard peeping, honking behind me. They were right behind me. They must have been in this abandoned property watching what was going on because they were not going to let me take no pictures. And so I started to go and they followed me, and I turned into this road and they turned into that road. So I turned into this driveway so I could get turned around and leave. They turned in the next driveway and they followed me back past the site. And then I went on home and they turned around at Interlock.
Wow. But
what are they hiding? Why couldn't I have taken a picture of that? It's nobody's business if I just want to take a picture of something. It's out in broad daylight on a public highway, but apparently that wasn't okay. And I have no proof of who it was. But the windows are all tinted. You can't see anything.
Wow.
A black vehicle honking at me, following me. If it was just a random vehicle that somehow popped over the hill, they peeped their horn at me, I went. When I turned around, it's why they wouldn't have followed me. They would have kept going. So I find that very suspicious. But like I said, I can't prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But
it happened.
What do you think?
I'm with you.
Think about it. What's going on in that scenario, you know? And it's just things like that that keep the public in distrust of these people. You know, you can't count on somebody to help you and you want to confide in them if they keep lying to you and misdirecting you and telling you that everything is okay, but then proving that it's not. You know, it's okay to drink the water.
Creeks are fine.
Then why are we still getting bottled water pumped in or pushed into our town and drink the water? And another thing, I didn't even, you know, I already said I didn't go to college. I'm older. I didn't think about all these things, but I'm like, oh my gosh, we gotta drink bottled water. I cook with the bottled water, but I use my dishwasher.
Yeah.
I take a shower, and from my understanding, when it's heated, it makes the vapors worse.
Yes, that's true.
And what are you doing? You're running your dishwasher, you're heating it. That is all blowing out those vents into my kitchen. I take a shower, I'm standing in this, letting this contaminated water wash all over me. But I know it sounds bad, but I try to only take 2 showers a week. And I try to wash in my sink. I fill it with heated bottled water and try to wash up that way so that I'm only exposing myself a couple times a week to the heated shower.
There are people in town that confided in me that once a week they go to a hotel and they shower and they don't shower at home.
Yeah, because it's scary, you know? And like I said, at first I wasn't even thinking about that, you know? And I just kept doing what I was always doing because no one told me not to do that, you know? You know, usually those, hey, don't do that. It's not safe for you to do that. Okay, I won't do it. But if you keep saying, you don't have to worry about it, there's nothing to worry about, then I'm not worried so much. And then I find out I should have been worried all along.
Yeah. And what are we going to find out a year from now or 2 years from now that they didn't tell us that we should have been worried about now as well?
And hopefully I'll still be here to hear that.
You're going to be here a long time. Where do you work, Connie? Where do you work?
I work at a McDonald's in North Lima.
Yeah. Is it easy work?
It's stressful. It's not a hard job, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
And that's been also affected by the train derailment.
Why do you say that?
Because when the train derailed and half of the town moved out and went to hotels and everything, and all these workers they were bringing in to help clean up the site were being bombarded with business, which is great for business, but we don't have the workers to do that. So people get upset because they have to wait longer or sorry, we only got 2 people today. We have to close the drive-through. You have to come in, you know? And even though that has slowed down some since they've kind of pulled away from our town and stuff, we still have that. And it's still, it's stressful for everybody I work with because, you know, we never got to fully recover from the COVID and get staffing back. And now we got this. And a lot of people that live in East Palestine work in the, you know, outside of the area, and it affects everybody. And even though they say that cloud only went this far,
Yeah.
it affected miles around us. And the creeks, where do they all? It's not just a little pond in your backyard. It's all going to the Ohio River. And then from there, going further. I mean, this is not something that's stopping right here. But those people can't get any assistance either. And a lot of them have been told there's nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. That was cleaned up back in Palestine. So you don't have nothing to worry about in Negley or East Liverpool, you know. What are you talking about? These creeks run right down through people's yards and properties, and they're all being exposed. And is it okay? I felt so bad because I had an appointment to come and see you. And I came home from work and had to come from there down. And I wanted so much to stop at the farm market and get some fruit and stuff and bring in for everybody like I used to. But I'm afraid. Where did that come from? Is it local? Because if it is it safe to eat it? You know, our cows and pigs and stuff are feeding on this contaminated soil. Is it okay to eat that stuff? You know, no one is saying, you know, and these people are going to lose their livelihoods if they can't sell their products or they can't sell their meat at market. You know, that's what a lot of these people around here have. It's farmland all around us. And people with wells, that these wells are being contaminated. They're testing a few wells, but are they testing deep enough? Are they testing at the right time and the right way? You know, because every time that it rains, in my opinion, that would push it further down.
It's true. Not your opinion. It's fact.
You know, and nobody is addressing any of that. To my knowledge, they're not going out and trying to help these farmers check and see if their crops are okay or their animals are not poisoned. If I can be poisoned, the animals can be poisoned. And if I eat that poisoned cow's meat, is that it's just making it worse, you know?
And the wildlife drinking out of the creeks as well.
Yeah. It's scary.
Well, I want to cover two last things. Let's be clear about what happened with you. Although you're going to be around a long time. Okay?
I hope so.
No, you're going to be around a long time. You had a cancer scare a year ago. You were clear for a year. Everything was going great. And in November, your scan was great. Everything was great. A little fender bender happened in our town. The chemical spill, the derailment. And there is never going to be any proof to link these two. But that happened in February. You went back for your appointment in March. And again, I hate to put you through it, but you were clear until that entire time, and then go ahead.
But then I found out that I had valvular cancer now.
And by this time,
And my understanding is that the vinyl chloride and stuff, if you have anything wrong, it's going to accelerate that.
True. It's true.
So something that might not have ever appeared is now being accelerated through my body and coming out in different ways, because now I possibly got skin cancer on top of everything else. And it's not like one little spot. I've got like 5 different spots on me. I mean, I'm red and I'm always broke out and everything. And
you don't remember that before all of this?
No, I didn't have any of those issues, and I don't even want to talk about how much money this is costing, because just the word cancer, you're talking lots and lots of money. And as it is at this point, I'm almost 50,000 in the hole for medical bills. And I know the first one had nothing to do with the train. So let's take that off the table. We're still looking at almost $30,000, And if I have skin cancer, there's more surgery, And if it just keeps snowballing, when does it stop? I can only brought Peter to pay Paul so many times, I keep getting messages over and over and over again on my emails. You owe us this much. We need to make a payment. Payment plans are great. But if you have 15, 20 of them and they all want $100, I work at McDonald's. I don't make millions of dollars. So where's all these hundreds of dollars coming from? I can't pay that, So I try to send a little here and a little there just to keep them from turning me over to collection agencies and stuff. And I'm still getting turned into collection agencies. But, you try to do what you can. I don't want people to think that I'm one of those people who don't pay their bills. I do everything I can to try to pay these bills and stuff, but they're becoming overwhelming and possibly going to get a lot worse before it gets better, And I'm going to be 60 in July. How many more years do I got to try to get these things paid off, I know that they're never going to come and hand me the money to pay my medical bills, but my goodness, they could be doing something to help us if they had some place to go where we could get some free health care to take care of the issues that are surrounding this issue. I'm not saying go in there for everything that's wrong with you, but if it is, you have proof, I have proof that I have been exposed, then I should be able to get some assistance and some help,
You have the highest level that I've seen of the vinyl chloride metabolite. You had the highest level.
I know, and that's so scary. When we had that meeting the other day, I was doing okay until I said the 1.3 and the whole room gasped at one time, and it just made it so much realer to me that it's just not me going, wow, 1.3 compared to 0.5, they all were like that, and I know other people has been exposed, but like you said, at this point, I'm one of the highest people. And if I can't get people to help me, then what's going to happen to the people who don't have as much exposure as me? They're not going to get any help either. And what if I go back in a couple of weeks and get tested and it's even higher? You know? I mean, I guess I could live in my car. I don't know.
What is something you'd like to end with? Is there something you want to say especially? Is there?
I would like to say to the EPA, to the government, to the CDC, whoever is watching this, don't forget about us. We're here. We need your help. We need your help for our health, most importantly, and for our children. This town has tons and tons of kids that could possibly grow up and find out that they have cancer or they have liver disease and stuff because they were exposed to all this and no one did anything. Please, I'm begging you, help us. We need your help. And thank you. I want to so much thank you for being able to help me get tested. Because, like I said, even worst case scenario, I can never get rid of it and I end up dying because of it. At least because of you, I knew what it was. And I'm not every day sitting in my house going, am I crazy? What's going on? Am I the only one that's having these issues? You know, because sometimes that's how you feel. You feel isolated because you feel like no one believes you and no one is going to step up and do the right thing. And that's what we need. We need Norfolk Southern to step up and do the right thing by this town.
Well, we will see if that eventually happens. We want to end just on a happy note with your family and just introduce everybody, if that's okay.
Yes. This is my daughter, Misty, and my granddaughter, JC, and this is little Chloe. They lived in East Palestine too. And not anymore. I mean,
Well,
right now,
Are you
she
Are you
has
staying
been
in town?
displaced.
we're just temporarily relocated, but we're looking for another place to live.
Yeah, you are pretty close to the tracks, right? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, the train goes right past their house, and they're right up against it. So, and it's scary for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Misty's been struggling.
It's been hard whenever we're in town. We get sick. Chloe gets rashes and we get stomach aches and lots of stuff happening with us.
And even Dottie, this is Dottie.
So
Once I start talking,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So thanks so much for doing this interview.
Thank you.
I'm glad you have your family here.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Did you want to say anything else, honey?
Just that my mom has been there supporting our family while we're going through this, and we've been displaced the whole entire time, and we've been doing online schooling and all of that, and my mom has been there helping my family to do that and making it so that we are not having a hard time and not
having to be in town.
and she's just been there struggling the whole time.
But it's taken a toll on us all, even the kids. You know, they can't be in school right now, so they can't see their friends. I mean, they are doing the online schooling, but that's hard, you know, because they're isolated, they're alone, and they have to do it on their own.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily safe for them to be in the schools even, you know. it's scary that they can't do the things that they should be able to do as children, you know, go out and play with their friends and have a good time and stuff. And I hope you don't get upset, but Misty is really struggling emotionally and stuff with all this. It is taking an absolute toll on her, and she tries to hide it, but it's wearing her down bad. And this isn't fair to any of us. It isn't fair. And I want it to stop. I want to go back to normal. I love you guys so much. Love you. I love you, JC. I love you too, Dottie. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing all these things for us.
Because he's calling me now.
Oh, okay. Maybe she's just worried.
Yeah. He is just worried because my husband works at night and he got up and I'm not home. And he's worried.
He has no idea where you are.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, what's happening, beautiful?
Oh, she wants to have
Everything's okay. Hey, can you just, I'm going to let you be on the phone for a minute. Can you just be quiet for a minute?
Okay.
Okay, I love you.
Hey, well, that's perfect timing because Connie, we started a fund to assist residents affected by the derailment and chemical spill and the subsequent chemical bomb. We had to start this fund because to this date, the residents of East Palestine have never received 1 penny in financial assistance from our federal government. When we started this fund, we stated that every single penny would go directly to residents in need and not public relations stunts such as Norfolk Southern, beautifying the park, sponsoring an Easter egg hunt, and buying tickets to carnival rides. While all of these things are important in a small town, they must take a back seat while our soil and our waterways are still heavily contaminated with deadly chemicals. Our commitment is to the health and well-being of our residents and not funding an illusion that everything is fine. With that in mind, Tammy has something for you.
It is with great pleasure that Rick and I, through our fundraising campaign efforts, are pleased to present you with this check for $10,000.
No. Oh.
Here you go. Oh, yeah.
You want to thank people too.
So we want the people of our community to know that we are not finished, and we will continue to work hard to bring not only funding for those in need, but public awareness to the ongoing tragedy here in our town. We'd like to thank all of the people from around the globe who have contributed to these campaigns, and we are humbled by your generosity. We'd especially like to thank Greg Kelly and everyone at Newsmax TV and the many programs there we've been on for giving Rick and I a voice for East Palestine and the surrounding communities during these past 98 days. But Greg, to you, we give our sincere gratitude. Because of you and those few minutes you gave us on your program this past Monday night, we were able to finally be in a position to give Connie this check after you promoted our campaigns. After the program and all through the night, we were flooded with donations from so many loving and caring people. And we want you to know you have touched our hearts, and your giving spirit will continue to help others like Connie.
Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Now, how about smiles? How about some smiles?
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you all.
It's a start. And there will be many more.
I hope that you're able to help a lot of people.
We'll try.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
The city of East Palestine thanks everyone for everything that you do and anything that you can do. The bottled water and stuff, everything has helped us. And we appreciate it so very much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Dad's still there.
Love you.
Dad, are you
Love
still
you.
there?
Hi, my name's Connie Rager. I live 1.1 mile from the derailment. I've never been able to get any help because I live outside the 1 mile mark. They will not test my home. They will not give me any help whatsoever. Every time I've asked for anything, I've gotten nothing. I've gotten more from my local church than anything. They're the ones that got me the house air cleaner and the water system. No one else is helping me. I've tested positive for vinyl chloride. My levels are very high. I'm at 1.3.
Oh my God.
I already had cervical cancer and was a year clean. I went in November, everything perfect, no problems. Unfortunately, when I went back in March, now I have vulvar cancer also. And I had to have another surgery. And my body is, I'm getting things all over me. The doctor said it's probably skin cancer. And sorry.
That's all right. You know,
I'm 60 years old. So unfortunately, I'm realistic. I will never live to see any kind of settlement. Nothing. I can't afford to move. It's all I can do to afford to live every day, let alone move. And so I have to stay. And my daughter, my grandchildren, thank God they got out of town because they're having the same issues. But I have rashes all over my body. I have headaches all the time. I can't breathe very well. I've had a lot of trouble, and I pretty much know that it's going to get worse. I went to my doctor right away. I went to my doctor in February and in March. And when I went back in March, I was told, don't come back because we can't help you. We've been told we cannot help you. If you are from East Palestine, sorry, we can't help you. And if it wasn't for Dr. Chai, I still wouldn't have been tested because no one would let me have any kind of paperwork to go get tested. So I thank God for Dr. Chai because at least now I know that I'm probably going to die and there's nothing I can do about it. But I at least want things to change for my grandchildren and the rest of the community because they have to live here forever too. And not everybody can leave. I know some people can, but not everyone can leave. I'm sorry. Who's going to help me? Who's going to help? That's what I want to know. Who's going to help me? No one helped me pay for the testing. No one cares if I get any further treatment. I've got $40,000 in medical bills because of the cancer surgeries and stuff. Nobody's ever going to pay that back to me. No one's ever going to give me any help. And no offense, I work at McDonald's, people. I am a manager at a local McDonald's. I don't have great health care and all that. I mean, I do have health care, don't get me wrong, but everything's coming out of our pocket. Me and my husband struggle every day to come up with the money to pay these bills and stuff. And for them to say that it's not their responsibility because I live outside of a zone. I can see the zone from that truck to me. It's all the further I am from that 1 mile zone, but yet I can't get no help.